Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Harmony Project, where we help you try to achieve some semblance of harmony in every aspect of your life. Currently, we're focusing on marriage, and we're going to spend the next several weeks focusing on marriage. And full disclosure, we are Christians, but don't bounce out if you're not a Christian, because we are going to give you some highly applicable advice no matter what your beliefs are. We will be focusing on some scripture. Our scripture today is Ephesians 4:32. Instead, be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ has forgiven you. Leading us into today's podcast, which is about forgiveness and fun, forgiving and flourishing together. Flourishing together. Flourishing. If you say it phonetically as the letters are, it's flourish. We're going to flourish. All right. So let's just jump right in. We're just going to start with the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've been through a couple of bouts of difficulty in our relationship, both initiated by me. I told you guys in previous episodes that we would eventually get to this. So here we are. It's still a little tough for me to talk about, not really with Karen, but with other people. And you are other people. So having the camera on me and sharing the story is a bit difficult. But starting with the first time I threw a speed bump in our relationship, she had come home and I was ready and waiting for her, and I had reiterated 1,000 times in my head, and I just said, we needed to talk, and she instantly knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And I just told her that I didn't want to be married anymore, and that I wanted a divorce. And her first response was,
Who the hell are she?
"Who that woman be?" And there was no other woman. And I had to tell her 3 or 4 times, there's no other woman. But I just wanted to go get loaded. I wanted to go relapse and drink alcohol. And, I justified it by telling myself, well, I don't want to drag her down, and I don't want to mess her life up. So I'm just going to get a divorce, and then I'm going to go mess my life up. But where'd you go? Where'd you go after I said that?
I went to the church.
She went to the church. She went to the pastors. And then it didn't even last a whole day. Lasted a
While
few
I was
hours.
breaking down and falling apart, I got a phone call.
You're breaking down, falling apart, and praying.
Yes, I'm praying.
And praying with the pastors. And I interrupted her with a phone call. And I said, I am an idiot. Please come and get me. And like a loser, I was on my bicycle with a suitcase.
And the alcohol.
Yep. I had about a week's worth of clothing in there and a couple of bottles of liquor that were left in our house. We had family over and they had left it when they returned home. Which leads us into a future episode of setting boundaries and expectations. But then that was, that was a little bit of an adventure in and of itself. We at that point we learned to put God first because neither one of us were doing that.
Yeah.
We weren't prioritizing our relationship with our creator. We were more obsessed with, maybe obsessed isn't the right word, but there were just more important things like each other, kids.
Well, and I think, I remember sitting in the car and we talked about it, and I was like, we need to put God first in our relationship because if we don't, things can be easily destroyed.
Yeah. Firm foundation. Yeah. Don't be like the dude who built his house on the sandy beach.
Yeah. Because that's where we were at.
Yeah. We were on a sandy beach. What a beach. What a beach. But then so we had several good years, several good years.
We did.
But there were a couple times where she had stumbled across pornography on one of my devices, and I always had a convenient out. And one day she found pornography on my phone, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't have a convenient out. I took a breath, and I went, "This is it. This is my answer to prayer right here," because I had been praying.
And it wasn't just one day. It was Sunday morning when we were getting ready for church.
It was Sunday morning, yeah. We were getting ready for church. Actually, I had started the rig, and I had come down to get you. Yeah, and you were just sitting on the bed, and I just knew. I mean, there's just there's a look, or maybe a feeling. There was a vibe about you. Yeah, I just knew, and I had a rock in my gut, and I made a conscious choice in that moment. I had a conversation. It was a very long conversation that happened about that quick, and I could make a choice. I could either make an excuse, like I had in the past, or I could own it, and I could realize that what the prayer that I had been praying for years was about to be answered if I would just step into it. And that's what I did. I stepped into it. And it was the deepest, hottest, steamiest pile of poop I ever stepped
And it was very difficult
in.
for
It was
us.
very difficult for us.
I made you go to church.
By
And
myself.
yep.
Yeah. And everyone's like, "Where's Karen at?" I'm like, "I don't want to tell you where Karen's at."
And I told him that he cannot come home until he talks to the pastor.
And I did. I immediately talked to Jason after the service, and he was great. He was non-judgmental at all, very consoling. His first response was, "How's Karen doing?" And I said, "As good as any wife in this situation, I guess." Um, but yeah, that was a tough. Actually, the like the first like 36 hours were super super tough because there was like nothing between us. There's like
We didn't talk.
nothing.
When he would get home from work, I would leave and go for a car ride.
Yeah, she didn't make me sleep on the couch though.
No, no, I didn't. I wasn't that mean.
Yeah,
Still loved you.
I wanted her. I wanted her to make me sleep on the couch. I mean, I was like, you kick me out, make me sleep, do something, right? But she made me suffer. She was like, "No, you're gonna deal with this, David Dunn. You're not gonna." Um, I believe that's 100% what it was. Is maybe you didn't consciously do that. Maybe it was more subconscious than anything. But it was like, "No, you're gonna sit in this with me. You're gonna lay in the same bed as me, and you're gonna suffer, which is fine." I think a little bit of penance is definitely deserved in that situation. But
Well, and what was it like? Was it a week after it or 2 weeks? I want to say it was almost 2 weeks.
when we took off,
Yes.
yeah, it was almost 2 weeks. It
So
took
we
us
had
took
kind of been suffering.
it took us about a week to just actually start talking.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then when we finally decided to just take off, was that you that was like, let's just go
yeah,
for
it
a
was
drive?
me. Yeah, it was me. So how it went was, we kind of chatted. So we kind of chatted a little bit, but it was like instantly we're getting into marriage counseling. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was instant.
Yeah.
We got a hold of somebody and started that day 4 or 5. We were in that, and so we had gone through one session with her, and then we had done some talking after that, and then finally you were to the point where like you wanted to be intimate, right? You were fine with some intimacy between
That
us.
wasn't until we left.
It wasn't until we
Yep.
left. Are you
Yep.
sure?
I'm positive. That was when I forgave you.
Oh,
Was when we were in Montana.
well, I know that's when you forgave me.
And that is when we became intimate again.
Oh, well, my memory doesn't serve me right because I'm pretty sure it was our bed, but never mind.
Nope.
But never
It
mind.
was the most uncomfortable hotel room ever.
Yeah, that hotel room wasn't that great. But anyway, yeah, we we decided just to go for a drive, and we did pack a bag.
Mm-hmm.
I said, pack a bag. We're leaving. Where are we going? I don't know, but we are getting out of here.
Yep.
And we did. We packed a bag, and we ended up in Missoula, Montana,
Yep.
of all places.
Mm-hmm.
And we rolled dice.
Yep, we did.
We rolled dice. We assigned
A direction
the
for
cardinal directions
Yep.
to different numbers on. It was a D20 die. It ended up in the vent where it stayed until that car got taken away to where they take total cars. But yeah, we rolled the dice, and we drove through like Walla Walla, like north, and we ended up in Missoula, Montana, where we got that stupid hotel room.
I swear it was like one of those storage unit places,
Oh
like
my
the
gosh,
insides.
yeah.
Oh gosh, it was so weird, so creepy.
Yeah, it was dumb, but it was the only one we could get, and it was all right.
But
Yeah.
I think that fun,
Uh
because
huh.
it was fun.
It was
And
super
even
fun.
though
It was
like
cold.
the first two, yeah, it was the first, couple weeks, like we barely talked to each other.
Yeah.
But on that car ride, like when it started to get fun, that's when we really
Yeah.
started talking to each
Yeah.
other. And I think that's, what helped me when we got there,
Yeah.
to just tell you I forgive you.
Right. I think that mm, probably up until Walla Walla, it was quiet in the car.
Yeah.
It took a minute for us to get talking, but it's okay. Like you should sit in that. Like it was good to sit in that awkwardness and that tension because we just tried to avoid it. Like during that week, the 2 weeks, like I mean, I would spend extra hours at work. I was like, I did not. And then as soon as I got home, you were gone. You'd be like, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And we just did everything we could to avoid that tension. But
Right. Well, we were stuck in like the seriousness of the situation. We were
it
like,
was serious. Yeah, it was. But that's, yeah,
big putting that fun in there, and the excitement, I guess, because it was
right. It
exciting.
was
It
exciting.
was. It was a spontaneous, exciting trip that we hadn't done in a while.
I don't
And
think we've ever done anything like that. I mean, we've like taken off, but we've had a destination.
right.
We've never just been like, we're just going to roll some dice and see where the wind takes us like a couple of hippies. Yeah, serious situations should be serious for a time. They should. You know, it's like they're,
But staying stuck
yeah,
in
you
them
don't want to stay
is
stuck in them.
no, no, because then you can't heal from that.
Right. Right. So when I think about like that time we have to be serious, I think it's really easy. I know it's easy for me to just like, if you give me the opportunity, like brush something under the rug, So it was good that we had that serious time because it was serious.
It was.
It was serious. I'm glad that we didn't just like spend a week trying to patch it up and then just move on. Like we spent a couple weeks in the seriousness, and then we did that spontaneous trip. We reintroduced some fun and some joy.
Mm-hmm.
We got to kind of get to know each other all over again. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
And there's a lot of power in that, like in that forgiveness process.
Mm-hmm.
There really is.
The restoration.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I felt restored for sure. Like despite the, I remember saying, I think my exact words were, "I know this is gonna sound super shitty, but I feel like a million pounds lighter. Like despite the
I
pain,
remember that.
yeah, despite the pain that you're experiencing, and like I was super apologetic, but like I felt like God had answered my prayer at that point, you know, and I was able to just unload a lifetime of like trauma, and I mean it was like a big deal, like a big deal for me. And I don't know what those cats are doing.
I know they're awfully
They're
loud,
trying to
aren't
come
they?
through the wall. They were trying to come through the door earlier. We have cats, and they love us a lot. They want to be involved in everything. But yeah, yeah. There's serious situations need to be serious for a time, but find something that, because it's almost like we went back to being in our 20s again.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we first met. That trip to Missoula was very much like that.
Yeah.
So reconnecting over just something, not like not just the commonality that we have in that, but the fact that it was something that we used to find a lot of joy in doing together. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so
Well, and I think that, going back to the power in forgiveness,
mm-hmm.
like I know that, I mean, you have even asked me, how could you have forgiven me from this?
Yeah, I asked you a couple times actually.
And
You basically quoted Ephesians in your
well,
answer.
it is true. Like,
Yeah,
I know I've said it many, many times. Like, God forgave me. He died on a cross for me. Why can't I forgive you?
you're gonna make me cry on camera. We promise no crying. Wow, I promise no crying. It's true though.
Right. And I know that, like, there's a lot of the common blocks in forgiveness. Like, a lot of people have, like pride gets in the way, the hurt gets in the way, the fear of, um, like being vulnerable.
You know, the fact that you were willing to go to the length you did to forgive me, I think was a huge moment in my walk with Christ. I say I think, but I know it was a huge moment because it was that I had never like it's one thing to experience the forgiveness of Christ like in your faith, but that's a very esoteric, spiritual. You know what I mean? We're almost it's just not it's just not here. It's not something you can handle. Whereas you're something I can handle. You know, I can handle you all the time. You're something I can handle. You know, so it's like being in that moment with you and being forgiven to such a great degree by you and being able to experience that and go, this pales in comparison to what Christ did. Pales, absolutely pales in comparison to Christ on the cross. Like, it was a very definitive moment, not just in our marriage, but in my salvation, for sure.
Right.
And I follow this guy on Facebook, and he's an apologist. He says sorry to everybody about everything. Actually, that's not what an apologist is, but he talks about how, like, if you have a spouse that cheats on you, like if they're like a problematic cheater, if it's like something that they do over and over and over again, you ought not be with them. But if they cheat on you and it's like the first time or it's a one time thing, then you ought to, because a lot of people will be like, well, the only biblical justification for divorce is, you know, a cheating spouse. But he actually says, even though the Bible says that, that one time, you know, where you experience that with your spouse, if you can forgive them, imagine the picture of Christ that they're
Mm.
going to see,
Yeah.
you know, for men and women, you know. So it's something up until I had heard that, even in spite of our situation, for years I had told people the only biblical justification for divorce is, and I would throw abuse in there as well. You know, like if you're being abused, you need to get out. But abuse and infidelity, when that could be the perfect opportunity to say, I'm going to love you despite,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm going to forgive you despite, because of what scripture says,
Right.
you know, what is God's standard of forgiveness?
Right. Well,
Scripture.
and it's not like you're excusing it, right? You're
Right.
you're forgiving it.
Right. Yeah. What's the difference between forgiveness and excusing, you
Right.
know?
It's not about ignoring the pain, it's healing over
Yeah.
the resentment.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, you don't forgive and forget. You
Right.
know, you're gonna forgive. You're gonna remember. You're not. The point isn't to try to forget. You know, the point is to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Was it the steps in forgiveness is pray, communicate, release, and reset?
pray, communicate, release, and reset. I like that order. It starts with the most important one,
Yeah.
prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? Like our prayer life post event versus pre-event, even though like after that first speed bump in our marriage, we did make an honest effort to make God more of a priority. Our prayer life got even stronger. I mean, we have prayed more consistently, more often, and for longer periods of time recently, you know, within the past few years
Mm-hmm.
than we ever did
Yeah.
in our relationship.
Right.
And I would say we've been Christians since we met, you know, so tough, embarrassing,
Mm-hmm.
carries a bit of shame for me, you know, but there's a beautiful benefit there for our faith and for our marriage.
Right.
Definitely an answer to prayer.
Right. Well,
So,
and it's with all of that, I think that our relationship has gotten so much deeper
mm-hmm,
and we have a better connection with each other. And
100%.
I mean, even though there was that hurt there with that forgiveness, like it has totally rebuilt us, even emotionally.
Yeah, 100%. I even think that we're more relaxed now. Like, we're more like, what's up, bro? What's going on, bro? Hey, brother. But we're like, there's a lot less tension between us, even intense moments.
Yeah.
Like where in the past we would have taken an opportunity to be irritated. It's just not there for me
And
anymore.
like snap, I used to snap at you all the time,
Yeah.
and I don't.
Well, and I think a lot of that came from underlying issues that weren't being addressed on it's like, how many times in the past did you go, either something is wrong with our relationship or I'm crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with our relationship and you're not crazy. Well, it's got to be one or the
And it's
other.
me.
Yeah.
It was always I always thought it was me. Like
Yeah.
there was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like I was yeah.
And now we don't have that,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
And you're not breathing heavy over me in the middle of the night with a steak knife in your hand.
I never did that.
No, she never did that. She never did do that. It's a joke. It's an inside joke that we have. But yeah, it's definitely it was a huge contributing factor to a lot of underlying issues in our relationship.
Right.
So I want to take a moment and just dudes. Well, actually, I can't even address just dudes anymore
Yeah.
because like it affects a huge amount of wives now as well. So people, persons,
Everyone. Everyone.
yeah, who are struggling with pornography use, address it.
Yeah.
There's I should start off by saying there's nothing good about any kind of pornography. So not even if you're like even if you're not like being abusive or addictive in your tendencies, like even if you're just being casual, address it because it's toxic. And if you're not in a relationship, you're going to carry that into your relationship and it's not going to add any benefit at all. None at all. So if that's something you struggle with, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to another professional, and we can get you going and get you some help.
Yeah. And ladies, there's help for the hurting spouse as well. Whether it's the wife or the husband, there's help for it too.
Yeah, yeah. I would recommend. I just spent a few months with a ministry here in Pendleton called Narrowway, and they're
Mm.
like they're their own thing, but they're also like they're like a satellite of Pure Life Ministries out of
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky.
Yep.
The guy who runs it here, the facilitator, he experienced Pure Life. He has nothing but good things to say about it. But him and his wife, they do. He works with men. She works with hurting wives.
Yep. And
And so, how good was that?
it was really good. It was
Yeah.
really good because I know that like I still had struggled with the trust piece.
Right. And this is recent. Like we
Yeah.
recently went through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been like at this point years. And
Mm-hmm.
we recently, like when they talked about it in church, I looked at you and I was like, "Do you think?" And she's like, "Yes."
Yes, I do.
Like I didn't even get. And so I loved it because it's like a Narcotics Anonymous meeting
Mm-hmm.
for me. I got to like network and just be like, listen, like solidarity. I'm here for you. If you need anything, here's my story. Let's share our experience, strength, and hope with one another. And is that how it was with the hurting wives?
Yeah, like we had a group feed or a group like text thing
Mm-hmm.
going on, and yeah, it was no, it was really good. Like I learned a lot about how um with the forgiveness piece, which I had already forgiven you, and that's something that I discussed in there as
Mm-hmm.
well. Is But I think it was that trust piece and how
Yeah.
to regain that.
Yeah. Well, and I think after something that traumatic, it's not like it's gonna be like 2 weeks and a trip to Missoula and everything's okay, right?
Right,
I
right.
mean, like I have a friend who will remain unnamed, even though he'll probably never see this. I don't even think he's on the internet because he's super old. But he cheated on his wife when they were younger, like way younger, like in their 20s younger, and she still to this day has trust issues with him. And they're probably in their 70s now,
Hmm.
and they're like a solid Christian couple. He's never went out on her after that. I mean, but still to this day, she wants to know where he's at, how long he's gonna be gone. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I don't think and that's okay. Like if you guys are experiencing that it's okay. Like men, it's okay. It's gonna be all right. Like allow your wife to experience that. Don't be like, why don't you trust me? Or you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I never said that to you.
Nope.
Like
Mm-mm.
gave you the room you needed.
Right.
Still gonna give you the room you need. I'm like if she questions me, she could pick up my phone whenever she wants. I'm not like I don't have it here with me, but I used to like always keep it in my pocket. I would always sit on my phone. Now I just leave it out laying around, and I'm like, I don't need, I don't need to be like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like I don't got to control that.
Yeah. Don't need to be secretive.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, and it's
oh.
like I don't have to be like, why don't you trust me? Like, can't you just trust me? Like, no, dude, you messed up. Like, own it, get over it. It might take 20 years. It's gonna be all right. You gonna be good. Like, anyway, but we have
Yeah.
lots of growth together. In fact, the whole point of us starting this was to really kind of get into that and share our testimony and
Yeah.
share the hope.
Yep.
Yeah, share the hope. That's the entire season,
Yep.
all in one podcast. We're gonna try and stretch that out over 12 weeks.
Uh,
No, not really. But
well,
so go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think adding, I guess bringing the fun back into your relationship after something big or catastrophic, really anything. Like
Yeah.
if it has made you
A dry
to,
spell.
yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. But bringing that back in, I put a little acronym: forgive, unburden, and nourish
Oh, I like that.
for fun. So forgive to release the burden, unburden your heart from the weight of the past wounds, and then nourish your spirit with compassion, grace, and peace.
Hmm. And do that together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like husbands, be intentional with your wives.
Yep.
Don't do the lip service thing. Don't like be intentional.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I really tried to do, and I mean I'm still doing is like be intentional. I for a long time it was, well, if you want to go do that, or that, if you can read that, but I'm gonna read this. You know what I mean? Or like it was just whatever you didn't really apply to me. Like you go do whatever you want to do, and I'm gonna go do whatever I'm gonna do. We're gonna cope in our own ways, and that's just not how we do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and we find things to do with each other.
I will say that we've always kind of been good at that, though.
Finding things to do with each other.
Yeah,
I think that we probably got better at it
100% we got better at it, but
after um
but you've always been my best friend.
yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like I'd be like, "You want to go fishing?" And she's like, "No, I don't want to go fishing." Well, then I don't want to go fishing.
I don't want to go fishing because if I know that I'm not going to catch anything, I don't
Not
want
into
to go
fishing.
fishing.
I know. But it's like
But then
go fishing with your friends.
there's some days where I will go with you so you can go
I
fishing.
know. Or like when I used to, be a foamer, she'd take me to chase, even though she has no interest in trains. We go drive for hours just so I could take pictures of trains, and she'd just sit in the car and I'd see that train. She's like, "She's on the train, David."
I know he says all these numbers and whatnot.
Yeah,
I'm
the
like,
locomotive
that
numbers. Yeah.
looks like the very first one we ever seen.
Yeah, they all look the same, David. Nope, that one's a man. Anyway, yeah, I just think
Um,
that like having common hobbies is super important. At least a couple. We have a lot of different hobbies that don't last very long. We're cyclical. We go through things and revisit them and come back to them. But having the common hobbies, and then just spending time with each other.
yeah.
Like even if it's doing nothing, just spending time with each other.
Being stupid with each other.
Being stupid. Getting into stupid fights that you don't remember why you started fighting.
Well, and I think that, like, sharing those memories with each other. Because I know there's some things,
Memories.
memories. Sometimes there's some things that, like, you remember
Mm-hmm.
that I don't, and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing those
Like
again,
the
like,
first time I said I love you. You don't remember that.
I don't.
I've told you like a million times and you still don't remember. Yeah. You almost said it to me when I was getting out of the car. You're like, ah.
I'm not ready yet.
And I was like, it's all right. I love you too. And I shut the door. And it was like 80 music started playing. Don't you forget about me. As I walked away from the car, I'll be alone. Dancing, you know it, baby.
Oh my god.
Then the credits started rolling. It's great. Perfect ending. Perfect ending. Anyway, we're getting pretty close to a half hour, and I really want to keep these at 30 minutes. So let's wrap it up. Marriage is not about just about surviving. It's about thriving with each
Mhm.
other, right?
Right.
If you're in survival mode, get out of survival mode. Find a way to get out of survival mode. But what are we going to challenge people with this week?
Um, try to identify at least one
One
area
area. Yep.
where forgiveness is needed.
Both of y'all.
Yep.
They don't
and
have to be
then
the same thing.
take that first step in forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like start start forgiving.
Even if it's something small,
Yep.
like you snap at me in the morning because you haven't pooped and had your coffee yet. I just forgive you for that. That's not a thing between us. I'm just trying to throw out a stupid example.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Pretty off the wall.
You know.
And
What's the other
then
one?
do one fun.
One joy filled activity.
Yes.
Yep. One fun joy filled activity.
Yes, with your spouse,
Yep.
not alone. You have to do it with your spouse.
So
and
what brings you joy? What is fun?
and just do it just because.
Yeah.
Just because.
If you have kids, you should probably leave the kids out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Find some time, just you two. If you can't get rid of the kids, get rid of the kids. Look at me talking like that. No, you should never get rid of your kids. If you can't preoccupy the kids or get a babysitter or whatever, of course, feel free to include them. But the goal is for spouses and couples to just be with each other, be intentional with each other. It's hard to do with kids around sometimes. It's not something we really know a whole lot about personally, but we've seen other couples experience it. We got 3.5 days every week without the kids.
I know.
We had a lot of time.
I know.
Yeah.
Really
So
depressing.
but it also has, I really think that's what helped foster our friendship though. And then also I had to, when I first got with you, I had to sit in that with you, that pain, and then as I grew to love the kids, that became pain for me. And then it was something we just, the Lord works, he definitely stitched us together for a reason, despite all of my shortcomings. All right. That's that.
All right.
We'll see you all next week. This is the Harmony Project. Thanks for joining us.